Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is November 8th. The qualifying offers have been made. A signing or two has happened already. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? The offseason is underway. Things will slowly start to happen here at the beginning of it all. But there is still good things to talk about, lots to talk about. So with that all being said, before we even jump into everything, I wanted to mention that I was thinking about the idea of shortening the podcast to about once a week during the offseason here. Days like today, can kind of drag out in a way some of the episodes into, what we're going to be talking about, where I could have one bigger episode a week where hopefully more things have happened, because with the off season, the only news that would come out that is usually given are obviously signings or trades and everything, and that doesn't happen on a week-to-week basis. Sometimes we'll have weeks where, everyone gets signed, and then sometimes you have weeks where nothing happens. So I was just toying with the idea. Not sure if I'll stick with it or not, but we'll see what ends up happening, maybe shortening it. Not sure which day, if I was going to shorten it, whether it be only Mondays going forward for now or only Fridays. So yeah, up in the air stuff right there, but just wanted to throw that out there, that a move might happen with the episode quantity going forward here. But now, with that being said, let's start talking about the baseball news that did happen this week here, or in these 4 days. Starting off with the rest of the qualifying offers we talked about. No, sorry, not qualifying offers. Whoa, I can't even talk English there. The options that was due by Monday. By the time I finished the episode, there were still a couple of players still yet to decide. I made that list, have it for you here. So we're going to quickly go over those ones, talk about it really briefly, and then we'll continue on. So first of all, Jacob Stallings with the Rockies. He declines his mutual option with them. That was for $1.5 million. So he is now a free agency. Mitch Haniger, as expected, does exercise his player option with the Mariners, $15.5 million, as he will be with them for this year as well. Frankie Montas declines his mutual option with the Brewers, kind of a bit shocking. $20 million for him for his contract there. I'm not sure if he's going to find that. Obviously, it's a high pitchers market, always is, always will be. But, $20 million didn't have any eye-popping numbers last year. I had a decent year with the Brew Crew, but, $20 million is still a lot of money to be walking away from, but you never know. And then another one that kind of was surprising, but at the same time not, Clayton Kershaw declined his player option for $10 million. I'm assuming, it was just going to be him talking with the Dodgers, reworking out a new deal, probably with a lot of incentives for Kershaw, depending on how well he pitches and how well he plays going forward with the Dodgers, coming off another injury. We've seen this before with Kershaw on the Dodgers, where he hits free agency and he gets a contract that is still worthy of him as a player, but then also has like $5 to $20 million worth of just things if you pitch this many innings with this many strikeouts, and if you're an all-star and all those things to boast his profit value there and his revenue with the Dodgers. So, I'm assuming he'll still sign with the Dodgers. I don't see him signing anywhere else. So, but for now, he is listed as a free agency. And the last thing that happened with the options here was the Yankees and Cole situation. And honestly, it is very weird and surprising how it's happened. So, Monday came, the 5 o'clock deadline came, and the news came out that the Yankees didn't match the Garrett Cole opt-out, which would have made him a free agent, but he then retracted and said, I'm still a Yankee here. So basically, to break it down for you, if you have no idea how, this whole situation is going about, Garrett Cole decides to opt out of his deal because he has that option in his contract. But unlike normal opt-outs, the Yankees then have a chance to retain him for the remaining 4 years if they add a fifth year worth the same $36 million. That's what his contract is, $36 million each year. He has 4 more years left. Done. Cole opts out because he wants that fifth year. He wants that extra year, get $36 million extra. It makes sense on Cole's perspective to do that. The Yankees think long and hard, decide, we can, he'll be injured. We can work with him again. Like, we'll figure it out, but we'll let him walk. They don't give him the year, and they don't give him the $36 million. And then, but they talk to Garrett Cole, and they're like, you know what, like, we still like you to be around. And Garrett Cole's like, yeah, I don't want to go anywhere either. So nothing happened. Garrett Cole is still with the Yankees. He's still on the remaining 4 years, $36 million AAV each year. Not sure if they're going to try to work out some sort of extension or some sort of way for Cole to earn more. But the whole situation was just kind of weird. You just have a player who's trying to get as much money as he can, and he threatens to walk away, but in all seriousness, he wasn't even planning on it to begin with. He just wanted the extra year and the extra money. So yeah, weird situation with the Yankees and Garrett Cole, but nothing comes out of it. So pretend like nothing ever happened, believe it or not. Almost as if Correa was a Met or a Giant at one point. Anyways, those were all the options for the rest of the Monday, and that was that. The qualifying offers, this was kind of the big thing for the week here. Plenty of players were eligible to receive the qualifying offer. Of course, we talked about how much it was. I believe it was $21.05 million for a one-year deal to retain that player. If a team gives out a qualifying offer and a team, let's say the Yankees. I don't know, I was having a hard time coming up with a team example here. Let's say the Yankees sign someone who has a qualifying offer. The Yankees then lose a draft pick to that team that the player comes from. So let's do Mets, right? Mets and Yankees with Soto, right? Yankees obviously give one to Soto. If the Mets then sign Soto, the Mets lose a draft pick. The Yankees gain that draft pick in vice versa order, depending on players' performance and everything is how good the pick actually ends up being. Of course, nothing in the first round, but like compensation round A, B, C, etc. So that's how the qualifying offers work. We know the values, we know how it works. Let's talk about the players that actually got those qualifying offers, starting off with the most obvious ones being Juan Soto, Corbin Burnes, Alex Bregman. These three were obviously going to receive their qualifying offers, even more so down this list as well. 13 players in total. So Soto, Burnes, and Bregman are the first three here. Max Fried with the Braves receives one. Willy Adames with the Brewers. Pete Alonso with the Mets. Anthony Santander with the O's. Teoscar Hernandez with the Dodgers. Nick Pivetta and the Red Sox. Christian Walker and the D-backs, Sean Manaea and the Mets, Luis Severino and the Mets, and then Nick Martinez and the Reds. Obviously, the latter of those names here being the ones that are more interesting here. Usually, the qualifying offers are declined by the players because they can make more money elsewhere. However, teams know that they're giving up a draft pick when they sign someone who had gotten a qualifying offer, and that sometimes, kind of pushes teams away from certain players here. So when I look at the bottom of that list here, the guys who kind of just squeaked in for the qualifying offer, someone like Nick Martinez I find really interesting here because I could see him taking the qualifying offer, the 1 year and $21 million, and trying to have an even better year with the Cincinnati Reds this year, and then head free agency once again where there would be no qualifying offer. With Nick Martinez here, you have a pitcher that, if you sign him, you lose a draft pick, but why do that when you can get, a Nathan Eovaldi who couldn't get one because he had already gotten one in the past. There's plenty of other pitchers, if I go through, guys off the top of my head, Yusei Kikuchi, Jack Flaherty, those are pitchers who aren't connected to anything. So why would you wait, talk to Nick Martinez when you could be talking to one of these guys? Obviously, depending on what your needs are, Kikuchi's a left-hander and Nick Martinez, but they're very similar in terms of the years they had. So, sign Martinez, lose a draft pick, sign Kikuchi, don't lose a draft pick. So obviously teams would then be more focused into other pitchers, and there is a lot of pitchers on the market. So Nick Martinez I find really interesting. Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, even a little bit more. Christian Walker is another interesting case because he's up there in age. I forget how old he actually is, but he is not the spry fella he once was when he first came into the league here. Just trying to pull things up here. Born in 1991. That would make him about 33, 34. But his last 3 years is kind of really where he's shown his potential. These last 3 years since 2022, he's been phenomenal, one of the best first basemen in the league. But when he debuted with Baltimore in 2013, and even when he was with Arizona in the early stages, when he was with them in 2017, he was not the player that we knew that he is now. So yeah, I find the Walker one really interesting. Of course, the Yankees are going to be looking for a first baseman without Rizzo now. Of course, Alonso, Christian Walker, two guys that could move. I find it really funny when I think of the free agencies here. How funny it would be for the New York teams. The Mets get Soto and the Yankees get Alonso. They just swap guys. I find that really interesting. But those are the 13 players that received the qualifying offers. Obviously, the top guys are, they're going to decline that. Santander, Hernandez, that's the middle of the pack of the year. Maybe Teoscar for $21 million. You wanted to stay with the Dodgers. He had those comments about wanting to be with the Dodgers. That's an option right now. You just take that. I think both the player and the Dodgers would be happy with that. So I even could consider Teoscar taken up on that deal as well. So we'll have to wait and see. These players have until November 19th to make a decision to either accept or deny the qualifying offer. If they accept, they get paid $21.05 million for the year. They sign with their team back. If they decline, well, they're now officially free agencies, and of course, they can sign right now with any team they want to. Just would have to give up that draft pick as mentioned. So that is the qualifying offers talk there. I want to talk quickly about some of the managers who are staying put. So it was announced this morning, actually, that Aaron Boone will be back as the Yankees manager for the 2025 season. The Yankees take on his option for manager, and he will be back for another year. It makes sense. He finally took this team to a World Series. Of course, this team could look very different entering 2025 than it did ending 2024 here. But Boone's done a good job. He's led good Yankees teams, just not having too much success as the Yankees faithful would have hoped for. I still think he is a good manager. I think he has his flaws, but the one thing I will always back about Boone is that he defends his players really well. Anything goes wrong, if a player strikes out on a borderline pitch, Boone is out of the dugout already, going up to the umpire. I feel like this guy has more ejections in the last 3 years than some managers have in their whole career. He's always got his players back. That is the one thing that I will definitely say Boone is worth it as a manager for. And, we'll have to see what kind of year he has for 2025, but he is back with the Yankees manager. And then the Padres are going to extend Mike Shildt through 2027, which is, good for Shildt here. I liked the decisions that he made this year. There was nothing that I would question about Mike Shildt, even in the postseason there. Maybe you could have come up with why is he doing this? But I think he was a strong manager for the Padres these last two seasons. Obviously last season really got away from them, but this season he was able to right that ship. Players performed at a higher level. They won clutch games, which is something they were very much lacking in 2023. And this Padres team was very good. And, you think back to Game 5 against the Dodgers in the NLDS, Padres win that, and I think they're the World Series champions. I think they are the team that beats the Mets, they beat the Yankees, and they win the whole dang thing. So you're one game away from a World Series, essentially. Padres had a fantastic year. I think they have a great chance to build off of it, to elevate their game. I'm very excited for the Padres' chances in 2025. Mike Shildt did a good job, and he earns himself a nice little extension. So I think, both parties are happy about that, and now we'll have to see how he can continue to manage this Padres team, because now, the upside here is World Series. I think the Padres know that now. They felt the postseason a couple of times now. This is some of the best Padres baseball we've seen in their entire franchise's history. And I think, the fans have waited long enough. I think they want that World Series chance, that first World Series in their franchise's history. I think that's the goal right now for the Padres. So continue to move up, sign a couple of nice players, and help your team get there. And, of course, Shildt will do his very best. So that is the two manager extensions that I saw going forward here. Now let's talk about a signing or two here, and we're going to start with the only main signing that we had, which is Kyle Hendricks signing with the Los Angeles Angels. It's a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, which I feel is very nice. For Kyle Hendricks, it's a nice Angels team. It's a nice environment, nice atmosphere on the west coast of the America here. Hendricks, man, what a career he's had. 11 years all with the Cubs, so it's going to be very different, to see him in a different uniform. Finished 7th in the Rookie of the Year voting when he debuted at the age of 24 in 2014. Of course, in 2016, the year that they won the World Series, partially due to how amazing Hendricks was. He had a 2.13 ERA. He led the league in that, finished 3rd in Cy Young voting and an MVP in 23rd in MVP voting. Had a phenomenal 2016, and even with that was a quick turnaround for him because his first half of the year kind of wasn't really right, and then for that second half really wrote the ship with him and Jake Arrieta. The pitching staff just came together for that Cubs team that did win the World Series. He finished 9th in Cy Young voting in 2020, which is kind of his last really good season, unfortunately. 2021 finished with a 4.77 ERA and led the league in hits. 2022, 4.8. 2023 had a 3.74, which is the lowest it has been since COVID. But last year definitely struggled at 5.92. It was 4-12. Definitely not the pitcher he once was, unfortunately. But still a very nice career despite never being an All-Star. The 2016 World Series ring for him, as well as an ERA title, of course, in that same year, led the league in that. A very brilliant career from Hendricks, as it kind of comes to what will most likely be the heydays. The Angels, will they be able to compete next year? Given off of history, probably not, unless, everything kind of just goes right for them. If Anthony Rendon goes back to being 2019 Nationals Anthony Rendon, if Mike Trout, could have an MVP season and be the god that he once was, maybe they can have a turnaround here. Hendricks will definitely just kind of be a guy there to eat some innings out. That's kind of what he was with the Cubs in the last couple of years as well. Having a bad day, guess what, Hendricks, you're keep going because, even if you give up a couple more runs, you can eat some innings. That's what he's always done. He's kind of been a big, bulky guy in his career. Besides COVID and his first year ever in the majors, the only year that he didn't get over 100 innings was in 2022. He dealt with some injuries that year, only pitched in 16 games, but still pitched 84 innings. But outside of that, in 2017, he pitched 199.2. I believe, or 139. 2018, though, 199 for sure. I can see that one. Some great numbers there for Hendricks. He's a great person and a great player. And all the best luck with the Los Angeles Angels as he makes that endeavor going forward. Moving on here, I want to talk about some of the players that are talking about switching positions, or at least have been already confirmed by teams to switch positions. So we got 2 that are talking about it and 2 that have already kind of been like, yeah, they're going to be doing this. The 2 that are talking about it are the 2 guys in free agency right now, Alex Bregman and Willy Adames. Agents and, meetings talk throughout the week here have decided, or have determined, I guess, that we've gotten the news, that Alex Bregman would be making the move and would be open to moving to second base to fit, a team's needs. The reason why players do that is so they have more teams interested in them and so they can get, the best deal possible when they're looking at it from figures wise and trying to get the most money. But of course, a guy like Alex Bregman, who's always played third base, you think the only teams that would be interested in him are the teams that need a third baseman. But by saying that you're open to second base, a team now that has a third baseman, let's say, locked up and a franchise guy, so they need a second baseman, they can now go after Alex Bregman as well and make the move to play him at second. We've seen this plenty of times in guys' career. Xander Bogaerts with the Padres. He said he'd be open to playing second baseman and made that move at the beginning of the year here. So we've seen it before. We've seen it happen. It's not a crazy thing for, a guy to be like, yeah, I'm okay with doing that. And the same thing with Willy Adames. He said that he's open to moving off of shortstop, whether it be at second base or third base, I presume. The quote that I saw was open to moving off of shortstop. So I don't think they're going to have Willy Adames, move to center field or anything, but you never know. But yeah, Willy Adames would be open to moving off of shortstop as well. A team that has a franchise shortstop, someone like a Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays, or, who's another franchise shortstop, like a Lindor from the Mets, things like that. You won't want to step on their toes. So obviously they would be open to that, and that helps with their free agency market. But the two teams have already said that, yeah, this is probably going to happen. The Dodgers and Mookie Betts, they've already decided that most likely Mookie Betts will be moving back to the infield for the 2025 season. It was something they tried this year. It worked for a little bit. It didn't work for a little bit. He got hurt, and by the time he came back, they had made some moves. They had fixed up that infield a little bit. So they said, hey, you know what, Mookie, just go back to what you do best and hang out in right field for the postseason. It's what he was playing and what he was doing throughout the 2024 postseason. But now they're back to kind of wanting to bring him back to the infield, which I find interesting because he plays such a good right field, and I mean, he's a good player. He can play anywhere good. Of course, he had his issues a little bit at shortstop. Not sure if it would be shortstop or second base that they're trying to move him to, but you have a for sure thing with him in the right field. I guess you're looking at outfielder depth, and you want to, bring in guys maybe like Anthony Santander or Teoscar back and make these moves and have those options to do so. And having Mookie be able to play right field or in the middle infield gives them versatility, but to be already open saying like, yeah, he's going to be here. I'm not sure how it's going to work this year as well. Second time around, maybe he feels more comfortable and he gets better in the swing of things. But I also wouldn't be surprised if, we're here a year from now talking about Mookie Betts, how he was in the right field at the end of the season in the last couple of months. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And then the Cardinals announced that Wilson Contreras will be moving to first base. This was a definite, yeah, he's going to be at first base. Of course, had a lot of injuries in the last couple of years. Of course, his first year with the Cardinals last year, he had 2 injuries since, I believe. And, to reduce injury and to have that, bat in the lineup, which is kind of what you signed him for. He will be heading to first base, and essentially taking over for Paul Goldschmidt, who, I mean, by saying that, it also kind of confirms that Goldschmidt is, Denzel Washington. I'll tell you right now, something I just thought of, complete sidetrack. How amazing would it be to bring Paul Goldschmidt back to the Arizona Diamondbacks? They just lost out on Walker. You go get Goldschmidt back, see what he has left, let him be there. I love that. I've now want that for everybody. I love that for me. I've talked myself into that just now. I just had that thought here. But yeah, Wilson Contreras heads to first base for the Cardinals. Not sure if they're now going to be opening up the free agency market, maybe trying to sign like a Danny Jansen or a catcher on the market here, or if they have a prospect or someone they want to bring up, or Ivan Herrera, I believe, is their backup catcher, if they're just going to let him be the starter going forward. So some options there for the Cardinals, but Wilson Contreras heading over to first base. Next up here, let's talk Austin Hedges, because he re-signs with the Guardians on a 1-year, $4 million deal, same as last year. Not much to talk about. He's a guy. He loves the Cleveland. Cleveland loves him. They get along well. He's a great catcher defensively. Hitting wise, he's kind of at the tail end of that career. He had 2 home runs last year. Only played in 66 games, so just kind of a backup catcher. Kind of share some time with Bo Naylor when he needs an off day, or when a pitcher wants to work with Hedges, because he is a really good catcher, really smart guy, really likable guy. Of course, was with the Rangers in 2023, so he is a World Series champion. He's bounced around from team to team to team, debuting in 2015 at the age of 22. He's only 32. He is still kind of on the younger side, but hitting-wise, he's just not there, and, he's a backup catcher. That's kind of what he will be. But maybe he'll be a manager one day. He's got a lot of baseball knowledge and a lot of baseball smarts behind that mask. But he is staying with the Guardians on that same 1 year, $4 million deal. So good for him. Some other news here, just things I wanted to bring up and mention here. There was talks with the White Sox about their trade talks for Garrett Crochet. They say they are open to it, but they are eyeing position players to make the deal a reality. So if you got some top, second base, third base prospects here, and you need a starting pitcher like Garrett Crochet, hit up your local Chicago White Sox for a trade, because that's most likely going to happen. I think it's going to be very obvious that Garrett Crochet wants out, that the White Sox want to move him out, and that a team will want Garrett Crochet. But I don't know if the trade's going to happen. I feel like the White Sox right now are a poorly run franchise, and I think they're going to ask too much for him, and a team's not going to bite on that, and they're not going to make a deal done. And, either the White Sox are going to end up forcing something, or they're going to stand so high and so tall on this mountain that they're just not going to end up trading him. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the White Sox handle his trade market, and how Garrett Crochet, will react when he is potentially eventually traded. I think he definitely wants to move. He wanted to move in the trade deadline, but then of course he was saying how if he wants to go, whoever trades him, extend me long term already. You can't be making those kinds of demands. We talked about that at the deadline, but he is coming off his probably best year of his career, and you just want to keep elevating off of that. So obviously, you want to hold that down, but he's had his struggles in the past. Of course, he is on the White Sox, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with him and his trade value market. Something interesting that came out of Carlos Santana, saying that he wanted to aim to play for 3 to 4 more years, which is kind of a crazy sentence here for Carlos Santana. Well, I say crazy, but not too crazy when you think about it. He's had a long career here. He's played since 2010 at the age of 24. A 15-year career, spending 10 years with the Indians, I guess at the time, / Guardians. Kansas City for 2 years. He's played a year in Philly, a year in Minnesota, which was last year, of course. Milwaukee, Seattle, Pittsburgh. He's been around. He's done the dance. His best year coming in 2019 when he was with the Guardians / Indians. We'll just say Cleveland going forward here. He was an All-Star and a Silver Slugger, finishing 16th in MVP voting. But yeah, last year he was 38 years old in 2024 with the Twins, and had still a very nice year. He connected for 23 home runs, had 124 hits, a 238 batting average, and a 749 OPS. That's really good for someone of his age, and that's, better than some of the players, a lot younger than him. Not only that, but he won the Gold Glove. We mentioned him on last episode, that he was the first base winner for the Gold Glove for the AL side of things. So, he's still winning awards. He's still having good offense. So why not? Why not let him pay for 2 or 3 more seasons here, 3 or 4 he's asking. I don't think a team's going to give him a 4-year deal today or in this offseason. Maybe a 1 year with a club option, maybe a 2 year with a club option. We'll see how his kind of deal gets made here. But it seems like he wants to sign kind of a 2 or 3 year deal here. Numbers will still say he's around. He's going to be 39 in April. So, if he gets those 4 years, let's say he's going to be 43 when at times he retires. We've seen players play into their 40s, and Carlos Santana's definitely got that, factor, still putting up nice numbers. We've seen little bits of regression here and there, but nothing to, signal, the end of career is near. If anything, we've seen kind of a resurgence coming off that 2019 year. He struggled coming back from COVID, in his year with Cleveland. In 2021, he had a poor year with the Royals. And then in 2022, he had a poor year with the Royals again. And then when he was traded to Seattle, didn't really get much better. Signed with Pittsburgh in 2023, was really good with the Pirates, so much so that the Brewers wanted him to help them in their postseason run. He signed, played really well at the Brewers, got himself a contract with the Twins, and played really well as well. So, after 2019, his best year, he had 3 years of, mediocrity, essentially. And then you kind of start thinking, oh, yeah, the end's near. last 2 years, he's been playing a lot better. So maybe there is still something there for Carlos Santana going forward. So hopefully all is going to be well for him and he can find that 3 to 4 year deal that he wants, or gets to play those 3 or 4 more years that he is still hoping to do so. Last bit of news here out of Soto camp. We have the list here. So far, 7 teams have given up Juan Soto a call here. Most notably, of course, the obvious ones, the Yankees and the Mets, of course, Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Red Sox and Giants, and then the big question mark that had people laughing it up when the news broke. The Tampa Bay Rays have given Juan Soto a call. Listen, I would love for the Rays to spend some big money in offseason. I think it's very unlikely, but, I think it's funny that they're giving a call. But you know what? You never know. It doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to give them a call and be like, hey, what would it take for you to join the Tampa Bay Rays here? What kind of money would we have to shell up for? And, for a small market team like Tampa Bay, if they end up making a move like that, that changes everything for a team and a franchise there. So, it doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to call. So I respect Tampa Bay for that. But those are the 7 teams right now who have made contact with Soto. Of course, the market will eventually heat up and stir. Some of those teams will drop out. Maybe another team joins the fray at a certain point. So we'll wait for all of that to happen here. So yeah, that is the Soto news there. And just gonna kind of bring up a couple of my predictions here. Start to slowly, come up with ideas and talk myself into plans here. Not gonna do anything crazy here. I'm not gonna go through every single free agency here. I have a list here about 20 guys. I think I'm just gonna do the first 10 today, or the first 5 even. Yeah, we'll do 5 today. We'll do some of the big boy names and go from there, I guess. So, so my predictions coming forward, of course, we talked about Paul Goldschmidt and Diamondbacks, so I guess that's the 6th one. I want to slide that in there once more again because I very much love that idea. So first of all, Juan Soto. That's kind of the big guy, right? If he signs tomorrow, I'd love to get a prediction in. And I think the 2 favorites, of course, the New York teams, the Yankees and the Mets here. I think the Yankees will do everything they can to get him, but I think the Mets are going to sign Juan Soto. I know they are meeting with Steve Cohen, I believe, either today or this weekend. I think the Mets really want him. I think the Mets, after having the year that they did, they're going to look for some more offensive, impactful guys. If you end up losing Pete Alonso, I don't think the fans would be too unhappy with that unless you sign Juan Soto. So I think I think the Mets are going to spend some money this offseason. They definitely are, but I think they're going to spend a lot of money and sign Soto. So that is my prediction with the Juan Soto market. I think he ends up going to the Mets. Next up, Blake Snell. I was interested in that. There's a lot of teams that are going to be looking for some starting pitching. Of course, we've seen Snell have his ups and downs. He's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. Believe it or not, he is a great pitcher. And this second half of the Giants, he was phenomenal. Like legitimately so amazing in this year here. He had a lot of success with the Padres last year. And, other teams would be lucky to have him, but I think he heads back to San Diego. I think the Padres, I talked about them wanting to make that push, wanting to be the best they can be here. And, they have a nice trio of guys there. But what's a 4th guy? What's a Blake Snell going to bring to the table here? To join the likes of Dylan Cease and Michael King and Yu Darvish, you slide that in there. And of course, Joe Musgrove, when he gets healthy, that is the scariest rotation in baseball. Dylan Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, and then you throw in Blake Snell. That's the scariest rotation in baseball. Hands down. I think the Padres, they've spent a lot of money in the years past here, so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to afford what Blake Snell might be asking for. But I think that if Blake Snell had a good time with the Padres, I think they might find a way to get that deal done as well. Next guy, Corbin Burnes. Corbin Burnes is very interesting. Like Blake Snell, pitcher market's going to be crazy. A lot of teams are going to want pitchers here. I think one team that's kind of feeling like they're ready to continue to start competing again, they've kind of made some moves where they've seen the potential that their team can do, is the Boston Red Sox. And I think they are a couple pitchers away from being a great team, a great contending team. And I think they have a lot of options here to make their pitching staff as good as they can be, not only in the rotation, but also with the bullpen. I got a couple, top-end relievers heading their way as well in my predictions. But I think Corbin Burnes is definitely a headline guy here. I think the O's will want to keep him. I think the Dodgers will try to take him as well. But I think the Red Sox will have the pockets for him. And, to be the staff of Boston Red Sox, that team's got history. There are certain teams and certain players that you just kind of want to pitch for and want to play for. We've seen that top-end style with the Yankees and the Dodgers and even the Red Sox and Mets. The high market teams, you grow up watching them, and I think Burnes, with the history Boston has with, still staying in the AL East, he had a nice year with Baltimore, so I think Boston is a nice landing spot for him. Next up, Alex Bregman, kind of the big, hitting guy after Soto here. I've seen some news. I've seen three teams kind of circulate the most here, and those three teams, of course, being the Astros to retain him, the Mariners, and the Blue Jays. And as interesting as it would be to see him don a blue uniform, whether it be Seattle's or Toronto's, I cannot shake the idea of Bregman leaving the Astros. I really think he finds a way to stay there. I think the Astros will spend out for him. And, he has so many memories with them, and he's been around, he's been with them the whole time of his career. He's got the 2 World Series with them. And has been a mainstay third baseman. Altuve early in the year saying that they got to spend it, they got to keep Bregman around. We've seen that 2017, World Series team and those like early Astro teams of, 7 straight ALCSs slowly change and slowly, leave the fray here. You think back to the Springer and Correa and Marwin Gonzalez, even Yuli Gurriel. Those guys aren't around anymore. Springer is a Blue Jay. Correa is a Twin. Those guys have left. You kind of, replace them a little bit with a Kyle Tucker and a Yordan Alvarez, still top tier guys. The rotation slightly different. No more Cole. Verlander is on the decrease. No Greinke around. No, it's the Hunter Browns of the world and Luis Garcia when he's eventually healthy again and pitching. So the Astros team has shaped and changed over the last almost a decade now, these last 10 years. But there's been a few kind of constants with that team. And right now, the only one, if Bregman ends up leaving, is Jose Altuve. And I think, having that extra guy that's been around and has done it with Altuve helps this Astros team. I think Bregman's that guy. I think he's going to stay with the Houston Astros. At least that's my prediction. Lastly here, fifth and final guy, just to spread these out. I'll be doing these a couple every episode until some guys start signing. Let's say Anthony Santander. Let's talk about him a little bit. Very interesting player, high ceiling, his switch hitting capabilities. He's got plenty of power. The only thing that I guess slows him down a little bit is the defensive numbers. But when you look year after year, he has been a phenomenal piece in the Baltimore puzzle here, getting his first All-Star game nod last year. Had a great year, had a great couple of years in the early 2020s. He's got 155 home runs in his now 8-year career, all spent with Baltimore going back to when he debuted in 2017, where he went 1 for 30. But look at him now. He is killing it. And I think, Baltimore will definitely want to keep him around. I could see them being in the mix, and I could see him staying. But I think the need for offense is bigger with other teams that went further in the postseason than them, specifically the team that knocked them out of this year's postseason, the Kansas City Royals. There was already news about the Royals saying that they'd be open to training some of their starters for offense players, because that is what Kansas City kind of lacked in the series against New York, and kind of even lacked in the series against Baltimore, which so happened that Baltimore also didn't have great offense in that series. They have a nice 1-2-3. They have Cole Reagans, they have Seth Lugo, and they have Michael Wacha. That's been kind of the headline trio this season that we saw with the Royals that helped them get to the postseason. Brady Singer, kind of their homegrown guy in that rotation. He's still going to be around. And of course, they traded for Kyle Wright. How amazing of a season he had with the Braves, to then deal with the injuries that he did. What do you get out of him? But, Chris Bubich, was a starter. He's been around. He was kind of moved to the bullpen last year, and he pitched well. He's still a starter, though. You could trade him, bring in some offense. I think that's what they need because you need more capable offensive guys here. They don't have a switch hitter besides Drew Waters, who isn't really the most offensive guy here. I think Kansas City needs some big, powerful bats. I'm not saying go sign Pete Alonso. I'm not saying go sign Teoscar. I think Anthony Santander, the underrated kind of mellow vibes, fits with the Kansas City Royals. I think it's a great fit. I think he's going to look great in the Kansas City Royal Blue. So that is my pick, Anthony Santander to the Royals. And those are my first 5 free agency picks of this year's free agency. And that's going to do it for us here today. Couple little talks here, a couple little predictions. But that is going to send us home. Happy slow week in terms of the overall free agency market. Hopefully some things happen in this weekend that will lead to a good Monday episode. But yeah, as mentioned at the beginning, I'm not sure if I'm going to stay to the two episodes a week format. Depending on how crazy the offseason gets, maybe, I'll have, I'll miss a day or two and then I'll come back with a big episode or not exactly how I want to shape up the offseason. I'm kind of in the same position as I was last year with how I want to do my offseason. Maybe we'll just be around when the big things happen. Maybe I think I want to be able to get out, episodes like today, 40 minutes, half an hour episodes here. So if I only have like 10 minutes worth of things to talk about, if only 2 things happen, I think we'll skip a Friday, we'll skip a Monday here, wait for some big news to drop, and then we'll have a nice, lengthier episode where we can talk about all the major things that have been happening around the free agency this off season. So that's the plan. So no exact timetable. I'm, just going to play it by ear, I guess, and hopefully you guys can be along for the ride here as we get through the 2024/2025 off season. But yeah, outside of that, I appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much, and we'll see you next time.